Senator Schumer to come on, and I'm just waiting. So I'm going to kind of go through this presentation we put together. But when he's ready and he's able to jump on, we're obviously going to give him the floor. And because a lot as I go through this, a lot of the credit for this is with Chuck Schumer. So, but I want to start by saying thank you for getting on the call this morning. I know everybody lost an hour's sleep. That's why I made it a little later. And sorry for the confusion that may have caused. I know some people got the times wrong, but this is the first of many Zoom calls. I wanted to get something out right away. I think this is an effective way of communicating with the members. We're kind of getting used to it. We've had almost this last year, all of our membership meetings on Zoom, and we expect to have more and more of these as things unfold. I scheduled this one for the actives. I'm going to plan another one for the retirees because the questions, et cetera, may be a little different. But I think it would be helpful that we just start with the actives and let you know what's going on first. As I said, we're expecting Senator Schumer to come on. That's what I was told. That's always subject to change. As you know, he's a very busy man, and we appreciate him trying to get on. And but when he does, we'll stop what we're doing. I want to start with a little background about what's happened here with pension reform in general. I'll explain the timelines, et cetera, and what it means to you as actives and retirees in the future. And I'm just going to ask that we hold the questions to the end, and I will stay on this call for as long as is necessary to answer everybody's questions. And I don't have all the details. I don't have exactly what's going on because we have to, as I explained later about timelines, we're still waiting for further guidance from the PBGC, but I can give some general answers. I can't give exact details about what your benefit would be, but I'll give you some ballpark figures about what these changes mean to you, and dependent upon the impact on you if you work for YRC or ABF based on the contributions were made on their behalf. So let's start by saying that this has been a long journey. This started for me probably about 13 years ago when we first hit the YRC debacle with the merger, and we knew that they were in trouble, and they stopped telling us they were going to stop contributions for up to 2 years. And then beyond that, we saw what the impact was going to have with the stock market and the crash of 2008, and we know we had big problems. We know that at that point we needed legislative relief to be able to fix our pension problems, or we were just going to be managing the decline of this pension fund. At that point, I started meeting with people, legislative leaders, to discuss how we could do things as simple as just reducing our 13 check, which even the retirees who were receiving those checks at the time wanted us to do. And every time we tried to come up with some relief, we kind of hit a dead end. I met with almost everybody that I possibly could meet in Washington. And along the way, I made two very good friends, and that is Senator Chuck Schumer, now Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and Congressman Peter King. And those were the two main people that helped us. One was a Democrat in the Senate, and the other one was Republican in Congress. And each of them played an integral role in getting us to where we are today. We've also made a lot of connections with the PBGC and speaking to different groups and different pension funds around the country. And we work together as one united voice to try and reform these pension plans. And we've had quite a few stops and hit dead ends, and we some false hopes. And along the way, a lot of them, I've come to you and spoken to you about it. And but I never gave up, and I don't think any of you ever gave up. And well, some of you did, I know that, but I never did, and our friends never gave up that wanted to help us, and they always continued plugging ahead with us, and this just came together. No one saw any of these stars aligning as they have. It took a pandemic, unfortunately, to have us included as part of that bill, but we are here for whatever reason. It's going to work out for us in terms of pension reform. We went through Congress passing it. We went through the Senate passing it. by one vote, and the president signed it on Thursday. So there is no more hoping and praying. This is something that is in the books, as they say. So we started this journey in '08 when with YRC, when they were in trouble, the stock market losses. Put in perspective, George Bush II was the president at the time when we started advocating for pension reform. As I said, we met with every single governmental agency, and we applied for every relief under the PPA, under MEPR. We were the first ones that applied for and were denied partitioning. We made applications that didn't even exist at that time. So it was a long journey to get where we are today. And but we learned a lot of things about pension reform, and that's going to aid us in the application process, and that we are ready to go. We have done calculations. We've already started that several months ago as this stuff started to show what the pension reform was going to be, and that was because we had people like Pete King that were going to be able to, and Chuck Schumer, who kept us abreast about what was going on, and along the way they made sure that we were included in this. Some of the frustration about pension reform, as I said before, we couldn't even reduce the 13 check when we wanted to, when the retirees wanted us to, and in 2017 we ran completely out of money. We spent down our assets, but not before we paid one more 13 check 4 weeks before we did. And that just shows the frustration and the irony of how the structured pension system that was broken. It wouldn't even allow us to fix ourselves. So as I said before, we probably had 4 or 5 bills that were proposed with pension reform. I can tell you along the way, each and every one of those times, 707 was included. And they couldn't exactly say it was 707, but the first several bills said that it was any insolvent fund that was not terminated after 2014. We were the only fund that fit that description. Along the way, unfortunately, we've brought along a couple other partners, Local 617, which was the local that represented the APA workers. Local 641 ran out of money on March 1st, and on April 1st, Local 560 is completely out of money. And these are all victims of the trucking industry deregulation. In our case, it was expedited because of the fact that we had so many more YRC members than anybody else. 2/3 of our active contribution base in 2008 was made up of YRC employees. So as I said before, when they stopped paying for almost 2 years and came back at only 25% of what they were paying in 2008, it really had that devastating impact and kind of accelerated us for us before any others. But just going back before, Senator Schumer and now Majority Leader Schumer along the way has always insisted and always made sure that 707 was included. So we're grateful for that. Pete King was instrumental in bringing bipartisan support for pension reform. He brought along, when the Butch-Lewis was a standalone act last year, he brought along 28 other Republicans in the House to vote for that, including Lee Zeldin, a congressman out on Long Island, and others across in New York State and around the country. And although this bill was passed with just Democratic support, when you watched CNN or you watched Fox News or whatever you're watching, and people were complaining about the spending on there, very few, if any, people mentioned the pension reform bill, because there was bipartisan support for that, and people wanted to see a fix to this. This problem became so bad, it became good for us. Central States is expected to run out of money in 2004, which would have crushed the PBGC. And that's not just Central States, it also includes everybody in the Teamsters that are in the Southern region as well. And it was just a short matter of time before each and every one of these funds was going to be crashing and burning. So it was one of those things that they had to fix. They knew they had to fix it, and this right vehicle came along with a fix that we never expected. This bill allows for a complete restoration of benefits that were accrued, and reduced under the PBGC. So I just want to give a couple examples of that. And beyond that, this will include a restoration of any benefits that were reduced by the PBGC for current retirees. And most of the people on the call today are actives. I was going to have a separate call for retirees, but this is big. A lot of these people retired and didn't know about the problems with YRC, and their pensions were reduced by 2/3 in many instances. These retirees and all the participants, whether it be surviving spouse, will receive a lump sum payment for all the monies that was reduced for them. So this is very big. This is something that was never expected to be happening, but it really has worked out very well for them. So what does it mean for you? Well, it's going to call for a restoration of all those benefits that were reduced under PBGC. And it depends on who you work for. So I'm going to give a couple of scenarios. If you work for ABF and you were paying at the high master freight the whole way, the increase is going to be more dramatic than you work for YRC. But even if you work for YRC, I want to give a few examples, and this pertains to everybody, about how this is going to impact you. So we made some changes into the pension plan right after 2004. Prior to 2004, every one of your pension credits, if you were paying at the master freight rate, which was YRC, New Penn, ABF, and a few others, your benefit for each and every one of those years was $115 per credit, and that was paid out 13 times a year. There was a 13 check included there for every one of those years. All your years including 2004 and back, if you go backwards, will be increased to 115 paid 13 times a year versus 35.75, which was the PBGC maximum guarantee, paid 12 times a year. So if I do keep looking down, I'm looking to see if the senator is hopping on. So okay. So just put that in perspective. I'm going to give some examples of that, and this is just for your years from 2004 back. So if you started in 1995 and you had 10 years on the job, those years, if you were under the PBGC benefit, were worth $4,290 for you combined. Under the restored benefits, the value of those benefits will be $14,950, or a $10,000, almost $11,000 a year difference to you. If you had 15 years, meaning you started in 1990, the PBGC benefit would have been $6,435 for those years. Under the restored benefits, it will be worth $22,425, a difference of almost $16,000 a year. And if you're one of the older guys and you started in 1985 and you're 20 years in at that time, the value of your PBGC benefits was about $8,500. Restored benefits would be almost $30,000, a difference of $21,000. So starting in 2005, we went to a different calculation because we saw the funding of the plan was going to become more and more difficult. We had lost CF at that time. The effects of deregulation were kicking in. Howard's Express had gone by the wayside, and we're still reeling from the reduction in the assets after the 2000 market crash. So all these things were impacting. So we started making incremental changes to the plan, and we started to go to a percentage of contributions, and that's how we calculated your benefits. So it was a formula of the amount of the contributions being made times the amount of hours that you worked, and it would slowly the contributions would increase over time, and then the accruals would change. Basically, from those years forward, if you were paying the full master freight rate from 2005 going forward, the value of your credits was about $90, and it would increase each year for the next several years till it got to up to about $114 a credit in 2021. And that's if your benefit, and this is for the most part, this is non-YRC people, but YRC continued to accrue that higher benefit right up until I would say right about 2009. So halfway through 2009. So for those next 3 years, your benefit was about $90. And so and that would be paid 13 times a year versus 35.75 for the PBGC, which would be paid 12 times a year. So there's a lot of math to be done here, but the point I'm making is that this increase, and I don't care if you work for ABF, if you work for YRC, the impact to you is going to be significant in terms about the increase in the benefit that you're going to receive. We have a reopener in the contract about future accruals, and that said that if there's any pension reform that was passed, the contract, the master freight agreement would be reopened, and that's also for the ABF agreement as well. The YRC contribution rate has been frozen at $1.82 an hour since 2009. Well, actually 2008 when they stopped paying. But 2009 they resumed, and there's been no increases since then. We have a reopener clause, which I made sure as part of the negotiating committee for the master freight agreement for ABF and for YRC, that we can reopen that contract, and that would call for increased contributions into each and every one of those funds. This right now, if you look at the YRC contribution after 2009, based on the amount of hours you work, it would be at that current rate, it would be about $20 a credit, maybe $20 to $22 a credit, depending upon how many hours that you work. Okay. I can tell you going into the future, we will be increasing those benefits. We will increase the contributions coming in. We will be at par with any of the other funds that are out there immediately. And then, should be on. Okay. I just got a message and okay, great. That's from the senator's office. He's joining momentarily. Okay, so as I said, I was gonna stop talking when he gets on. Okay. Just answer him back. Let me know. All right, so I'll keep talking until he comes on. And unmute. Oh, unmute him. Okay. Yes, I'll be happy to unmute the senator.
You got the good idea?
Yeah, I think I'll. Okay. Okay. If you know what, if he can, I have to find him. Okay. They are trying. Okay, I just unmuted. I think
Can you hear me, Kevin?
I can, Senator. I can, Senator. Thank you so much for joining us. And if I know you're in a hurry, I know you're busy, but I just want to, before you start, I just want to say thank you for everything that you have done for us, for all of our active members. And this is the first of a series of calls. We're with the actives, the retirees. I am telling you, we have an email blast, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that they have said to us that has really had a very, very big impact on them. So let's give Senator Schumer a round of applause for everything he's done for us and continues to do for us. They're all muted except for you, Senator, because they get loud.
That's okay.
But I just want to thank you again. And as I said before in the call before you joined, you have been with us from the very beginning. You have been, the one that has made sure that 707 was included in every bit of pension relief. When I needed to see somebody influential in drafting legislation, Senator Schumer was the one that opened the door for me to be able to speak with those people. And every step of the way, he's been there for us, along with his former colleague, Peter King, who has helped build bipartisan support on this. So
yes, he did.
We can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us. So the floor is yours, Senator.
Well, thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here on Zoom with my fellow Teamsters and you, Kevin. And first, I want to give a shout out to Kevin. No one across the country, I led the charge here to deal with the pension problem. But I can't think of anyone across the country who was more relentless, stronger, more smarter than Kevin McCaffrey, your leader in 707, for getting this done. From the day I came out there and met with you, what was that? How many years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago with Peter King, who I was a good friend of and miss. And I saw it. I mean, all you got to do is see the Teamsters and people who worked so hard for so long and put in money every few weeks for their pension. And you knew when you were about to retire, you're never going to live a life of luxury, but a decent life, an honorable life. And you'd have some help in addition to Social Security. So you motivated just seeing Kevin and his relentlessness and just seeing all of you, you know, if you have a heart and you see people who are struggling with this and who are getting screwed by something totally beyond their control through no fault of their own, it makes me want to act. So we did it. I can tell you now, we have enacted multi-employer pension relief into law. There's no more steps we have to take in the Congress. It's done. And Butch Lewis is there. We modified it a little in ways you wanted. I want to give some credit to Anna Taylor, my great staffer who knows pensions better than anybody. I want to give Jim Hoffa some credit too. He was always there fighting with us as well. And all the Teamsters, District Council 16 and everybody else there. So now 1.3 million workers in the US, 600,000 New Yorkers could have lost up to 98% of the pensions that you all spent your working lives paying into. And a lot of you were frontline workers, keeping the community running during this crisis. So the legislation is going to make sure you don't lose a nickel. You've done everything right. You're not going to lose your financial security. The Republican proposals were to cut. Oh yeah, we'll give pension reform, but cut their pensions in half. As we say in Brooklyn, and I don't know if you're from Brooklyn, Kevin, but you have a good Brooklyn accent. So
Queens, Senator.
What neighborhood? What neighborhood?
Jackson Heights.
Jackson Heights, very nice neighborhood. Anyway, in Brooklyn, when they said cut the pensions, we said NFW, but we said the real words. I won't do that here in case it's Sunday. Some of you are not in church, so I better not say the words. But in any case, we did it. And so here's what the legislation does. It creates a special financial assistance plan. It's just like Butch Lewis, where the PBGC makes payments to the troubled plans, ensuring that you receive your full benefits. And listen to this, the plans will be solvent for a minimum of 30 years. So, you know, even a young Teamster just coming up, a young worker coming up, will still be protected. It allows the plans to retain their funding zone status as a plan from 2019 and plans that begin in 2021. It provides that plans that are endangered or in a critical status starting in 2020 or 2021, a 5-year extension of rehab so you can improve everything, and it allows a 30-year amortization. So simply put, folks, there's not much more to say. We, not just me, not even just Kevin and me, we, all of you, with your letters and all that. And I only ask one thing. I know you know it. Please tell all your friends and family throughout the communities of Long Island. Because, you know, one of the Teamsters actually came to me a few weeks ago while we were fighting for this and said, you know, I care less about me. I care about my wife. I care about my kids. I care about my parents. They're all depending on my pension. So they're all in better shape too. So please spread the word to your families and friends that Chuck Schumer went to bat once again for working people and saved your pensions. That's the only thing I ask in return. And you don't need, you know, I believe in you. My family is a union family. I know what it means to have a good, strong union. I know what it means to have not only a decent salary, but decent benefits and a decent pension. So thank you. God bless you. Keep working, stay healthy. And I'll be there for 707 anytime you call on me. Thank you, Kevin.
Senator. You always have been. Thank you for your support.
Great. And I saw you on a Zoom on what other group was that? The county?
Yeah, I was on the county Zoom. I wanted to be on the.
Yeah, I saw you there. I didn't shout you out, but I saw you sitting there listening.
Thank you. And as always, it's great to be a colleague in government with you and caring of it as being one of those that care about working men and women. So I'm proud to stand with you with that. So
thank you,
Senator.
everybody.
We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Much appreciate it. Bye-bye. Okay.
So that was great. As I said, it was Senator was kind of downplaying what he did there along the way, but he was the guy that opened the doors for us whenever time we needed a door open. When they were crafting this legislation, even in the past, I got to meet with so many people that became, we weren't just, just numbers or statistics. I was able to tell the story, not my story, your story. I tell the story about retirees and the impact that it has on them, about the actives, about how difficult it was to recruit people into the Teamsters because of what happened to our pension plan, because of deregulation of the trucking industry, which has caused a dramatic impact on us, where these pension funds were built on the fact that all these trucking companies wouldn't be in business because it was a regulated industry. And when the non-unions began attacking us with 401ks and promises of big money that drew away, that undercut the standards in our industry. And that was because of government action. So it was people like Chuck Schumer and Pete King and all the others that stood behind us and with us that knew that it was the government that created the problem that we're in, and it was the government that needed to fix this. So as the senator said, this is really relief that we never expected to get. A lot of things came together, and having the now U.S. Senate Majority Leader as someone that's on our side, and you can see as a friend that took the time to be with us and just say hello to us. But he deserves all the credit for getting us to this point where we are. When this bill was being debated, and it was a lot of negotiations go on. This was a $1.9 trillion bill, and you heard a lot of people out there talking about this bill, about how it was, the spending was unrelated to COVID, and it was a terrible thing. All this money they're spending that our children and our grandchildren would have to pay back. And as things were taken out of that bill and modified, one thing he would not let anybody touch, and he told me this, was pension reform. He made sure that it stayed right where it was, that it deserved to be in there, that the impact on because of COVID or whatever reason, he was going to make sure that this bill stayed in there. And more importantly, because of the bipartisan support, as I said before, that was built, the foundation of this has been going on for many, many years. You didn't see Republicans attacking the portion of this that affected pension reform. They talked about other things, but not pension reform, because quietly they wanted to get this done because they understood the impact of this. So it's really come to a happy ending here. We still have a lot more work to do. As I said before, let me give you a little bit of the timeline. So what does this mean? So the president signed the bill on Thursday. The legislation requires the PBGC within 120 days to be able to have developed guidance and an application process so we can apply for relief. So the senator made sure he put in priority consideration. Not only that, it included an insolvent fund such as ours, but also it said that any insolvent funds would get priority consideration in the application process, which means we will be one of the first ones in line. And as you can see, if I make a call to our good friend Chuck Schumer, he will make sure that we are at first in line. Along the way, I've already developed, as I said before, relationships with the PBGC. I speak at conferences on pension legislation and pension reform, and I've spoken and shared the podium with people from the PBGC. So we know each other. They want to help. I've told their story to the whole PBGC executive board. I've told them this story about all the retirees and the actives and all the other things, and they want to help. And we're in a good place to be considered as first in line here. So within 120 days, they are going to develop the guidance. They're going to an application process, and we're going to be included in that. As they develop this stuff, they ask for technical expertise, and so Anna Taylor from Senator Schumer's office, who he mentioned, will be intricately involved in this. And the expectation is that we will make sure that we're included, as we were as this legislation was being drafted, asked all along the way, does this help 707? Is this beneficial to you? And we'll be included in that. Once that 120 days is up, which is sometime in July, we should be able to start the application process or formally apply, we'll be already starting the application process. I've already been working with the actuaries to work on some of the numbers as to what it means. One thing that we didn't talk about is that there's a requirement in this legislation that all the monies that they give us, this lump sum payment, they're going to give us a lump sum payment to fund all these liabilities into the future for 30 years. Now, that will include future contribution increases, which we will be using to make sure that we can maintain those benefits well past 30 years. One good thing about having, we have a large contribution base, and as those increases come in through negotiated increases, which I tell you will guarantee you is going to happen, we'll be able to extend that well into the future. But this will be the basis for us being able to provide pension security, and also we'll be able to make sure that we meet all those guidelines. But the 30 years, that lump sum payment, we have to invest it in investment grade bonds or whatever the PBGC says that we can invest it in. So it'll be safe, secure. We'll probably get something in the neighborhood of a 3.5% return, which is not a big return, but you know what? It doesn't go anywhere. It's always going to be there. And that's the beauty of it. When you calculate our pension liabilities at a 3.5% return, the amount of money that they're going to have to give us when our application is approved is well over $800 million. The money that we're going to be sending to the retirees, all the benefits that were reduced, is in excess of $135 million. So Senator Schumer basically wrote us a check for almost $1 billion just to local 707 actives and retirees to ensure our financial future well into 2051 and beyond. So this is a lot of money. It's not pocket change that they're talking about. We're in the middle of setting up those doing those numbers. As you can see, I've already looked into it. We're doing a lot of work here in the fund office. People have said, well, now I'm interested in how many years I have, and they want to start doing calculations. So in the past, we used to send you out pension credit statements. What we're doing is doing programming on our website that is going to allow you at any time to be able to go on the website using your password and unique identifier to be able to see exactly how many years of credit you have at any time during a year. As soon as contributions are made into your behalf, it'll be updated. And along the way, we want to develop a pension calculator that will be able to help you figure out what the value of those pension credits are. I know I explained them to you in a way that you're saying, what is he talking about? But we'll be able to put in a pension calculator based on the amount of hours that you worked, and the amount of money that was contributed on your behalf to figure out exactly what the amount of that benefit would mean to you as an individual. But the first thing we're going to have is we'll show you your years of service and show you the hours that were contributed on your behalf for those years. So you can have a rough idea about what the value of your pension is. We're also going to, explain things such as and beyond, and what it would mean with increased contributions. And I think the biggest increase is going to be on the YRC side, where we're going to see expected to get immediate relief on that. And one of the things I'd like to do, and I'm trying to do on the YRC side, is to be able to get contributions going retroactively. And that is, we're not sure if we can do that. It is something we're talking about doing. So you were stuck at $1.82 only because the pension fund was stuck in the black hole, as they called it. And if there's a way that we can get those contributions to be credited to you retroactively to raise your benefit from the $20 to $25 a year service that I spoke to you about, we're going to get that done. Okay, there's a lot of legal hoops we have to jump through. And of course, the PBGC would have to, do some sort of blessing on it. But we think it's the right thing to do. And I think with the help of people like Chuck Schumer, we may be able to help get them to get that done. So we're going to work towards getting increased contributions in the future for future accruals for the YRC members. We're also going to look to be able to try and put money back so that when we calculate those pensions retroactively, they would have an increased pension benefit for those years in which they worked with the reduced contributions coming in. but there's not something I'm working on it. I'm not sitting there telling you I'm going to get it done. I want to make that clear because sometimes people say he said this, he said that. It was one of those things based on input I received from YRC members said, hey, it's great for everybody else, but we kind of got left behind. And we did, you did, there's no question about it. It wasn't a secret. People had an opportunity to vote on this. And, but unfortunately, everyone did what they needed to do just to keep YRC in business and keep working, maybe so we can get to a day like we are here today. But we expect to be able to, at the very least, increase future contributions. So what does that mean to you? What would be an accrual that you could expect? So one of the basis for this was, which a normal accrual would be 1% of contributions. So what does that mean to you? So if you work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, you work 2,080 hours. Okay, and we get paid on a maximum of 8 hours per day. But if you work a 6th or 7th day, you get an extra contribution made. So if you work a Saturday or Sunday, or if you work 10-hour days, you're going to get those maximum amount of hours. And so a basic accrual would take the amount of money that was contributed on your behalf and using a round number of, let's use an ABF person. ABF currently pays into our pension fund $11.17 an hour on your behalf. Okay. So if you took those contributions and you times it by the amount of hours that you work, it would be fair to say that it contributed on your behalf for a ABF member, that would bring your accrual to almost $200 a year in the future. Okay. And you say, how can we do that? How can we do that? Well, how do we not, we don't want to get into the same situation we were before. Most of the money when ABF was contributing $11 an hour, or when YRC was contributing $7.89 an hour, most of that money, probably 3/4 of that money, was being used to pay back the past liabilities in the fund. All right, the accrued liabilities that fell behind. So now with those liabilities being paid off through this lump sum payment, the ability to give future accruals without restrictions on the plan has increased exponentially. So it is prudent, it is safe to say if you're contributing $11 an hour, that your benefit could be almost as high as $200.
Can't understand.
Let me mute everybody again. So, because I let the senator in. Go.
Hold on, I'm trying to make it so I can't
Hold
adjust
on,
it. I'm
Frank.
not
Hold on,
adjusting it
Frank.
so you can hear it.
Frank, I don't want to hear what you're saying. Okay, I think okay. All right, we're good. All right. So anyway, so it wouldn't be unreasonable to say if you were making that contribution. The same way, if we had the YRC contribution at $4 or $5 an hour, up from the $1.82, which may seem dramatic, but we will get there, that we're going to be back to the $100 a year credit. And incrementally over time, they are going to be getting them closer to where the ABF contribution is and a higher contribution rate. So there is relief in there for people that have been here for a while. There's going to be relief for the young people that are starting now. And we're going to work to try and bridge the gap for those years in between when YRC was paying less. I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but I will guarantee you that I'm going to try to make that happen. But as I said before, regardless of where you fall in, those years backwards in prior to 2009, you're going to see a substantial increase. I don't care who you work for in the amount of your pension benefit. It's just be substantial. And this, with the mandates that it be in investment grade bonds, if the assumption rate was 6%, which allowed you to have some equities in there, which have a little bit higher risk portfolio, then the amount of money we would need would be less. But you know what? If they want to tell us, we'll give you whatever it takes to invest in investment grade bonds, which are safe and something that we can be sure is always going to be there, and they're willing to give us more money to invest in those things, we're happy to take it and invest in those investment grade bonds. And so going into the future, things are looking very good. I don't care if you're just starting this pension plan or if you've had many years in here, you're in a lot better place than you were before. And there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure that all these things get set up in a manner in which when some of us are not here any longer, that it's going to continue well into the future. Along the way, in my over 25 years of now serving as a trustee on the pension fund, I've gained a lot of knowledge. I've gained a lot of experience serving as your fund administrator, being involved with nationally on pension reform and dealing with many other fund administrators, et cetera, and plan professionals. We have a very good handle on what needs to get done to make sure that these benefits stay in place long after we are gone. So whether that be increased contributions from YRC, which we will be getting, and managing those benefits in a way that we'll be able to pay them prudently for a very long time. And we're never, ever in the same place where our hands were tied, where there's nothing we could do if the unforeseen circumstances occurred. So we're going to make sure that all those things happen. So I think that's about all I had on here. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself and I'm sure there might be a few questions. So if someone, so I'm going to ask to unmute. So you can unmute yourself if you have a question. I'm going to ask you not unmute yourself if you don't have a question, because the background noise gets a little crazy. We threw a lot out at you. Okay. Okay, so if you have a question, I've allowed you to just unmute yourself and ask the question. But I ask you, after you're done asking the question, mute yourself again so we can hear it now. So I hear somebody come on. So do we have a question?
Yeah, Anthony Bronstein from ABF.
Anthony, how are you?
Good. How are you, Kevin?
Good.
Hold
good.
on, Anthony.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, guys, we're talking about if the bridge payment's going to come back for people staying over 30 years. Is there any talk about that? The extra $100 a year?
Yeah, it's one of those things where we look at. That was an adjustable benefit that was removed. As I said, I don't know that that's going to be. What we had done is we had put in a bridge benefit, and that was an encouragement for people to stay longer when we had the 25 at any age. But because we reduced the 25 at any age, 57.
Remember that, Anthony?
May no longer be
25 and out, they changed that?
Who's that? Frank? Is that Frank Modica? I know that voice anyway. Frank.
Yeah, Kevin, we're listening.
I know, but you're talking too at the same time. Can you mute yourself?
I put a sock in my mouth.
All right, that'll work too. But so I don't know that we're going to be doing that. As I said, we have to make sure that going forward, we don't spend more than we have. And I think I would rather put the money in a manner in which we can increase that accrual rate on each year, just straight up, so we know what's what. I think that's generally where it's going to go. So I don't know if you ask me as I'm sitting here right now, if we would do that. I don't think we would need to do that. I'd rather just do straight up benefit. We may even make for future accruals. People asked about the 13 check, and I said, you know what? I think we would make an adjustable benefit that if the funding of the plan for each year was that we had enough money coming in and the accruals were coming in at where they need to be and the funding of the plan was in a good place. For each year, we could give a 13 check, but it would have to be an adjustable benefit that we were able to stop or anyone could stop if we needed to make sure that the long-term viability of the plan is in place. So it's one of those things we will look at, Anthony, but I really think we're going to be overly cautious to make sure we don't get into a situation where we were before. So, I mean, if we're looking at a benefit that restores back to where it was, I think we're going to be in a better place. So.
All right, thank you. Great job, Kevin. Thanks again.
Thank you, Anthony.
Kevin, Joe Labasi.
Hey, Joe, how are you doing, short timer?
Good. Yeah, soon. Less than a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, as far as the rate from YRC, well, road rate and YRC, It's
Yeah.
going to be $20 a credit roughly from what year exactly?
I'm just taking a guess, Joe. You know, we had
No, I
that,
understand.
the year, you know, everyone's gonna be different, but I know I went through a lot. So from 2004 backwards, all worth 115. From
2004 backwards, right? So,
2005 to about 2009, gonna be about $90 a credit, okay? And then after
Okay.
that, depending upon how many hours you work, it's gonna
Right.
be in the $20 to $25 an hour range.
minus the 18 months they didn't pay a dime.
Those years will be impact 2009, 2010, or iffy years. It depends upon how much they were doing. Okay, it
Okay,
wasn't 2
Kevin.
years, it was 18 months, so clip.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
All right, Kevin, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Hey, Kevin, Bob Donahue, ABF Brooklyn. Thanks
Hey,
for all
Bob, how
your
are you?
help. Good, thank you. Thanks for all your help and your input on bringing this all back to
Thank you.
happening for us. Question, the 120 days on the application that they have to give you, any idea what the length of the process would be once they establish that?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question, Bob, and I actually have the answer. I just didn't put it out there. So the way the legislation is structured right now, and it reads that after that 120 days is up, they have 120 days. If we make an application, they have 120 days to either reject that application or only because it is incomplete. That's the only way they can reject it, because it's not like we have to qualify, end up partitioning for funding. We have no money. They're just going to have to give us a check. They just need to, they can only say, hey, we need more documentation. The numbers you gave are inaccurate. And if it goes 120 days beyond that, another 4 months, it's automatically approved. They can't let it linger. So we're going to be at the tops. We're looking at 4 months before we can apply, and another 4 months. So middle of July, August. So by November, we're looking at it has to be approved. All right, and we'll be,
Okay, so as a future retiree and speaking possibly on behalf of current retirees and spouses, the money's guaranteed at this point. It's just a matter of when. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
as the senator said, it is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Okay. So we can pinch ourselves at this point.
You can pinch yourself. Like they said, the senator said, NFW was just not going to work. So it's happening. And in the event like Joe wanted to get out probably in a month or so. Okay, when this is all said and done, he would get a check back for all these the months that we're back.
Very good.
So we're in a good place. We're looking at it, and believe me, our application will be complete. They won't be saying, hey, you need this, you won't need that. We've come pretty good experts at this. So.
All right. And again, thanks for all your help, Kevin. Great job.
Thank you, Bob. And as I said, I'm going to ask everybody to send a note to the senator. We're going to send out his email and just say thanks, because he deserves all the credit in the world for sticking with us and making sure we're a part of this. So.
Shall do.
Thank you. Tommy Berger, I think you had a hand up there, right?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you.
I want to know, I don't know if I missed it, but did you say when the calculator was going to be up and running, or you're working to put that?
I was told yesterday that it's a matter of they'll get it done within 2 weeks, and we have an outside vendor. That runs our program, so it's a little bit of reprogramming. I mean, the information is in the system. It's a matter of just taking it and being able to put it in a form that people can that can be understood. So we expect within several weeks. I will make sure that I keep everybody appraised of it. I'm going to do, besides these meetings, we're going to put together a mailing, like a fund update to everybody, and explain, what's happening, how it's happening, and et cetera, and what it means to you. But by that time, I'd like to have that those types of things in place so we can explain it to everybody. So be weeks, and I'll get it out to everybody. And I just want to encourage everybody to just sign up once again for our email updates. You go to our website, which is Road Carriers.
Hey, Kevin, this is Ike Wilson.
Hold 1 second, Ike. Roadcarriers707.com. And as soon as something happens, I put it out there in the updates. So please make sure you sign up for those, and all those updates get sent out to the jobs where they get hung up. So.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kevin.
Who do we have next? We have,
Yeah, it's Ike Wilson.
go ahead, Ike. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Kev? And
Good.
thanks again for everything you've done.
Okay.
Before, are we still gonna need to do the 2,000 hours to get fit for the year, the credit?
Well, you know, your credit is based on, and it's still 1,000 hours to get that pension credit. The value of that credit changes based on the amount of contributions made on your behalf. So if you work 2,000 hours, you'll get a pension credit, but it'll be a little bit less than if you had worked 2,080 hours. And if you work, you know, a six punch, you know, or you know, Saturday or Sundays or a road driver that works 6 days a week, the value of your credit is going to be higher because more contributions are being made on your behalf. That started in 2005. We made that change. So the value of that credit will change based on the amount of hours that are contributed on your behalf each year.
So my question though, now it was easy. We were able to figure out $119 per year going forward. How do we figure out what it would be in terms of trying to figure out what we're earning?
Right, it's
Going
not that
forward.
easy. Prior, 2004 and prior was $115 a credit if you were paying the master freight rate. That was easy, okay? But after that, we went to a value of a percentage of contributions. And so, as I said before, besides putting in a way for you to look at what was contributed on your behalf, I'm also going to try and come up with a pension calculator where you can kind of plug those numbers in, and it will show you what the value of your credit for each one of those years is. All right, that's a little trickier because the lawyers say, hey, if you put it on the fund website, then they can rely on that to say it's what should have been, and you really need the actuary to determine. But I'm trying to work on some sort of guidelines where we're able to at least give people an idea about what the value of their credits would be. Okay.
So are we going by what we're earning an hour times the hours we're working, or what they're paying per hour present currently?
Are you talking about going into the future accruals, Ike?
Yeah, the future accruals.
Okay, so it would be the amount of money that's contributed on your behalf. And as I said, there was a reopener in the NMFA, which I've already notified the company that we want to take advantage of. We want to reopen the agreement to allow for increased contributions from YRC to be able to pay back those, potentially go backwards, but definitely going forward, increase contributions into the fund. So as I said before, and I'm just throwing out a number, you know, at a reasonable accrual that people would look at and say, you know, if based on this, it's not out of the ordinary, it's not overspending, not overpromising. If you took the amount of money that was contributed on your behalf, right, which would be the amount of hours, generally it's 8 hours a day times your contribution rate, and you take 1% of that, that would be your accrual. So based on, I gave the example of ABF, which is contributing $11.17 an hour now. If 2,080 hours, which is 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, the contributions were made on their behalf, that would give them an accrual of about $200 a year for the years going forward. Okay, there's a strong actuarial belief that that is more than a viable benefit that it's actually on the conservative side. So if we got the contribution rate up to $5 an hour for YRCW people, which includes New Penn, you're looking at out of the $80 to $90 credit, which is where we need to be. You know, for start.
Oh, okay. See that's a little bit more powerful, but because I know it gives when I'm getting a new guy in the job,
Yes,
and he's trying
absolutely.
to project out 25 years, or a guy like me with 7 years to go, give or take, it's an idea what we're working with. Before,
Correct.
years ago, you used to say, yeah, work 25 years, you got 2,800, and if you work 30, you got 3,300. So if I can say that no more, I have to be able to have something that
Yes.
we can understand on layman terms.
You will
Right? Because I did say,
right.
I did say that you will get, some of it will be at $150 a credit, and some of it might be at $89 a credit, but not all of it's going to be at $115 a credit. That's what I've told guys. It's because, you know, this is exciting for everybody.
Yep.
Even last week I had guys off. So I told guys don't expect it all to be exactly the same. It is going to be different somehow.
Yes, it is. And I will come up with a better way of explaining it to you than I have on the Zoom call. You really need something you need to put to paper and show people, And I just have to do it in a way that the lawyers say, okay, you're not guaranteeing telling somebody that this is their benefit because only the actuary can determine what your final benefit would be. So, but people deserve to know what an estimate of what their benefits would be. And I would like to be able to put in a pension calculator where you can take the formulas that are there and the hours that you work and get an idea about what your benefit would be. And future accruals based on the amount of money contributed on behalf and that we negotiate from YRC. I think a 1% accrual rate is not something that is out of the realm. And we need to get those contributions made going forward. And I'm going to work hard to get those contributions going backwards. And if we're allowed to use those contributions to be able to retroactively go back in those years and raise those benefits, I'm going to try and do that.
Awesome.
Okay. So, okay, who's next? I see some hands raised, but I see Jim.
Senator Chuck Schumer, and the guys are excited, and we're looking forward to more meetings.
Very, very good. And yes, and I tell you, the senator, he doesn't like to take a lot of the credit, but he deserves it. So I was happy to be part of the process and making sure that our story was told. So I'm glad.
Absolutely.
Glad it worked out. So.
All right, Kev. Thanks again. You got a great rest of your weekend, and hi to everybody on the Zoom.
You too, Ike. Thank you. Thank you for your help. So, and Tom,
Yeah, Kevin.
go ahead, Tom. Who's next?
You got a list?
I don't. I see some hands raised. Let me just start with. I have. Who's up here in the top left? I see Galaxy S10. There's no name there.
That's me,
All
Wayne
right.
Simmons.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, Kevin? This is from YRC Brooklyn. I spoke with Larry, when he stopped by, briefly to give us an update on what had happened. And for me myself, I came to Roadway before the merger in 2008. When the merger happened, I got laid off in 2010.
Right.
I came back in 2013.
Okay.
Now for me, as I say at the meetings, I'm pessimistically optimistic. With all of this that's going on, I'm more hopeful that, because my biggest thing was the reason why I stayed away for 3 years. One was before for the 15% get back, and that there was no pension. Going forward, the salary is improving. We now have a pension. Now for myself, I've been there roughly 9 to 10 years, depending on how y'all calculate it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I consider myself still to be young in the company with the time that I have. Like I had just said, talking to the new guys, going forward, say for instance, somebody just walking in the door,
Right.
25 years down the road, what would a pension look like? And I'm going to include myself for me and those guys.
Okay. So it's hard to say, but as I gave the example of if we were looking at a pension benefit of 1% accrual on say $5 an hour. Now you're at $1.82 right now, but you know what? They need to get those contributions up, and we're going to do it. I'm going to be getting a big jump. I'm going to demand the big jump to be parity with other funds that are out there. We didn't get that increase because it was going into that dark hole, into the PBGC. But I envision in the very near future getting YRC's contribution up substantially. So we're going to be at least in the $80 to $90 range. That's where we need to be at. And eventually over time, we're going to be putting as their, and understand, they got money from the CARES Act. All right, they got a
Yes.
$750 million loan from the CARES Act. All
Yep.
right? And that loan amount requires them to use it on medical and pension benefits. We are going to be getting our fair share of that $750 million because we were the ones that were beat up. We were the ones who were left behind. And you can be assured that I am not going to allow that to happen. So I feel confident that in the future, we'll be able to get those accruals up so we can get more people. And anyone that stays is going to get a decent accrual of 80, 90, and then back up to that 100, 115 is my goal to get to back where we are. All right. And if we keep the contribution base up, that is going to happen on its own. We're going to be able to do that. I will never allow the fund to get into a position that we cannot make adjustments and benefits along the way. Okay, I would like to be able to continue a 13 check if the fund can afford to do it. So we would make it a variable benefit that's reviewed each year. The Western States Pension Fund, every year they change their pension accrual based on the funding of the plan from the year before. That is why, and they did that because they were sued 30 years ago. And it was a blessing in disguise for them because because of that, they were in a better financial shape. We're going to follow those matters. I have learned along the way and the hard way what good practices are. So I'm going to make sure that we, first of all, get that accrual rate up to a manner in which it's going to keep people and attract new people to come into this industry and to give them retirement that they deserve. So,
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. I get Jim. Let me see. Put on glass. I got Jim Zarek. Jim, you had your hand up.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for.
Sure.
Yeah, I got my hand up. You hear me?
Yep, I hear you. Go ahead, Jim. It's all yours.
Hear me?
Yep.
Kevin, I'm originally from local 229 in central Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I got just a couple of questions. Back in 1987, our defined benefit plan went underfunded. Okay.
Yes.
And they switched to a defined contribution plan. It was more, I mean, with everything I read, it's a better plan.
I'm very familiar with your situation. Yep.
Yeah, I was involved in the committee that actually got everything straightened out there.
Yep.
What's your plan going forward? Like one of the reasons why that old plan went belly up, because they were paying out the 13th check and getting new members in, which we all know that the defined benefit plan depends on new members coming in. It's just like a Social Security.
Yeah.
Is there any plan on maybe switching to a defined contribution?
No.
And like, if this continues, like if you continue to like no new members coming in and the 13 check been paid out, this is going to be after 30 years again.
Yeah,
no need more money. Correct.
Jim, I hope you heard what I was saying. And first of all, I'm very familiar with Central PA. I know the trustees on that fund. I know the administrators. So I'm very familiar with what happened there. And the difference is that you went in that fund went from a defined benefit plan. They froze the plan. They went to a defined contribution plan, which undermined the funding of the plan. And eventually they came back in as a defined benefit plan. And what it did though was those difficult years where they lost I forget what year you came back, but because it was the defined contribution plan, when the assets of the plan went down dramatically in 2000, that wasn't felt by the plan like our plan was. It was felt by the people who had a defined benefit, defined contribution plan. So you suffered all those losses in the stock market and not the fund. So they were able to come back and start over again. But as I said before, I learned the hard way, and I am going to structure this future benefit accruals in a manner in which they can be adjusted on an annual basis for each year's service based on the funding of the plan. Okay. There's going to be a 13 check. It's not going to be guaranteed every year. It's going to be in the years that benefit can be afforded. And maybe we won't do a 13 check. We'll just do a 1% of contributions. And each year it's going to be looked at and adjusted based on the funding of the plan. So believe me, we had some, as I said before, learn the hard way. I'm in a better place now in terms of knowledge. I've been doing this, sitting on these boards for 25 years. I went back to school for this. I've been the fund administrator. I've been to the mountain. So we will make sure that this fund stays in place in a secure basis beyond 30 years from now. So everybody will be able to have the benefit of it, and we won't be in this place again. So, okay.
So what's the plan going forward to get new members in? Do we have a plan?
Yeah, that's what I just said was the plan, that we are going to, first of all, increase the contributions into the plan, which would increase the accrual. So people come in and say, hey, this is a good place to be. I can get a secure retirement into the future if I come into this plan. That's the idea. We have a shortage of drivers out there. And
Thank you.
I'm just telling you right now, this is going to raise all boats. These companies are going to have to pay more money, and I don't care if it's union or non-union, to be able to attract drivers in there. So it's in a good place. So, okay. Who else had a question? I know Bob.
Thank you.
Guys. Who else has a question? I can't see all the hands.
You there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm here. Is that Frankie?
Yeah, Kevin, when you said about the website coming up and running, we'll be able to generally see basically from beginning to the present day, right? Retirees and actives?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Frank.
All right, that's good. Okay, thanks.
Great. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Kevin, Bob
Go ahead.
Donahue, ABF Brooklyn again, sorry.
Hey, Bob.
I'll make this my last question of the day,
Okay.
possibly. On the 13 check you were speaking of, coming out of the gate, you anticipate to be a 13 check, and that would in turn be an adjustable benefit going forward?
Yeah,
Did I hear that correctly?
Well, here's what I'm saying, Bob, is that we need to, and the frustration about this is that in 2004, we looked at it and we saw when CF went out, et cetera, and that the decline, even before YRC hit us, because we're still suffering from the losses of 2000, all right? And we started losing membership. Companies started going down, we saw a pattern. And the actuary put something on and said, you know what, if you can reduce the 13 check back in 2003, which all the retirees said, hey, we'll take that. It's going to ensure the viability of the plan, we'll take it. We weren't able to do it. We could have saved that plan back then, right? And because it was not an adjustable benefit, it was put in 1991 as a permanent benefit of the plan, well before I was here. Okay.
Right.
And so you could not reduce, ERISA does not allow you to reduce any permanent benefits, only adjustable benefits. We were able to do it back then, we would have saved the plan. I gave the example of Western states that said every year they review the funding of the plan, and based on the funding of that plan, they set the accrual rate for the previous year. So I don't know if we would just, 13 check sounds great, but I think we're better off putting the value of the 13 check into the accrual, a higher accrual for each year, and looking at the accrual each year to see based on the funding of the plan what the next year's accrual is going to be. So if we start, for whatever reason, starts going down, we need to be able to, maybe we'll just trim back that year's accrual till we started going back up, okay? Whether it be investment returns or et cetera, or drop in membership, we need to make sure that we have long-term viability plan is in place. That is what I'm looking for. And we're not going to be high flyers.
You need to have that flexibility.
You need to have the flexibility if you put it in as anything in as an adjustable benefit that can be adjusted. If you look at the funding of the plan based on each year of service, and I said we didn't do that before 2004. I mean, we already have that right now where we can look at future accruals each year, and we're going to continue to make sure that that is part of this plan going forward.
Okay, thanks again, Kevin.
You're welcome, Bob. Thanks. Who's now? I see Samsung SM. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Kevin. This is Thomas Amodio up here in Maybrook.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Is there still going to be a 6% penalty for people under 55?
Currently, it is 25 years at age 57 is the normal retirement age. Okay, that's the service pension is 25 at 57. There's 30 years at no age, so there's no penalty. If you put in 30 years, there is no age penalty. But there is a reduction if you have, if you retire, you can retire at 55, but there is a 6% reduction for each year you're less than 57. Correct. But if you stay for 30 years, and I know you're a fairly young guy, there is
Yes,
no-
I do have over 30 years though. So, but I'll be 54 in a couple months.
Okay, then there'll be no
So-
reduction if you have 30, still 30 years. I don't we never changed, all right? Even when we went to the PBGC, we never changed the service pensions. Every other fund is a 65 plan. If you're local 641, 560, or all the others, they all went to 65. We were able to maintain our 30 years at any age, 25 at 57. Okay, so if you have 30 years in now, you can retire without any reductions.
Okay,
But you're not, but not 55.
but I'm not 55, so I will take like a year hit.
No, if you're 30, do you have 30 years in, Tom?
Yes.
You have 30
Yes, I
years,
got-
then you
Yes.
will have no reduction. 30 years at any age,
Okay.
25 at 57.
All right, good, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, I see another hand over there that says iPhone. That's all I see there. Whoever has their hand up, why don't you jump in? 'Cause I can't see. anything.
Frank, Kevin again.
Frankie, hold on. Let me just get to some of these other people. I have some people up here that are kind of.
Go right ahead, Kevin. Thank you.
I don't know who this is. It just says iPhone. Whoever wants to jump in that has their hand raised. Oh, yeah. Okay, you have to unmute yourself. Okay. Okay, I think you're unmuted, whoever that was. There's no name on here. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, Kevin, Frank again.
Go ahead, Frank.
You're gonna come around to the bonds and go over this with everybody, Kevin, when you get time?
Excuse me?
Are you gonna come around to some of these terminals again and go over
Yeah.
this with us?
Yeah, as these things, as this stuff comes out a little clearer in terms of the guidance and things like that, I've been to a couple of places. I've been to, actually, is at your terminal, I believe, and but I'm going to make the rounds. I was upstate, but I'm going to make the rounds to make sure that everybody knows exact to the extent that I can tell you right now what is going on. And as I said, as we get these tools in there, these calculators, you better be able to, you'll be better able to calculate what your benefits will be, so.
All right, Kevin, thanks.
I'm sorry, go ahead, who's out there? Anybody else out there?
Hi, Kevin, Anthony Bronson again.
Hi, Anthony.
Hey, so going back to that 6% penalty, if you retire with 25 years at 55 and don't collect until you're after 57 years old, would there still be a penalty, or is that only if you want to start collecting?
Only if you want to start collecting. You just,
Okay.
if you collect your benefit when you're 57, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Right. And then let me just throw in, I know that, and this is a question was raised, someone had asked me when I was at one of the job visits, what are we going to do about prohibitive employment? So currently, because the benefit got reduced to, by 2/3, we allowed any retirees to work in any employment, do whatever you want, go back to your old job, go back to another job. Whereas in the past, we had prohibitive employment rules that said, hey, if the benefit was restored, that, if there was no reduction in benefits, you can't go work for another employer in the industry. You definitely can't go back to work for your same employer. That's one of those things we're gonna have to revisit and maybe transition over time. The problem is that we need every driver that we have right now. So there will not be any immediate changes to the prohibitive employment rules. People will be made aware of when that is gonna happen, if it's gonna happen. But right now, we can't allow for the shortage of drivers that's just out there right now. We almost every terminal needs 5 drivers. We need dock people. We need everything that we can get. So we're going to take a look at prohibitive employment rules in the future, but there will be no immediate changes to prohibitive employment rules. So, okay. All
I
right,
got
who
one
else
more
has-
question, Kevin.
Go ahead,
One
Frank.
more question, Frank.
Sure.
If you're,
Right, you should just stop by my house. He lives not too far from me, so, but go ahead.
maybe I'll do that. You got it. I got it, Kevin. Thank you. That's cool.
That's what you need today.
That's all right. Go ahead, Frank. No, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead. That's the question.
If you're retired, can you do 3 days a week and collect? Somebody's asking me this.
Yeah, well, we always, as I said, we're gonna look at any changes to behavior employment. We always had the ability for retirees to work 2 days a week. Okay, so
Right, okay,
that definitely would not change. That would definitely not
okay.
change. It's just a matter of whether or not we can in the future, whether it's, but right now we need every person we have, every driver that we have
Yeah.
working, every document we have working. We're not making any immediate changes to it right now.
I can leave you alone.
You're welcome. Okay, who else has a question up there? So I see a couple of hands raised, but there's no names on, just says iPhones.
I got a question for you, Kevin.
Go
Tommy
ahead.
Berger.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, you were gonna talk with 560 because 560 doesn't allow you to work if you retire. So
Yeah,
like I
can't-
wouldn't be able to retire my job and then come back to work because it's against 560 rules. I got 20 years with 560 too.
Mhm. Yeah,
And you
I
said
don't.
you were,
Yeah, that's something that's, I've spoken to them about it and they are gonna, they're reviewing now that they're in insolvency themselves. They are gonna review the prohibitive employment rules. And so I'm just not sure what they are going to allow or not allow, Tom. It's outside of my purview, We've told them what we have done, what we thought was fair. But I just don't know, I've told them we allow 2 days a week, but it's completely up to the trustees of each individual fund, whether or not they want to allow it. But with the shortage of drivers out there, they need everybody they can get, and so, they've been reminded about that, but I'll remind them again though.
all right,
Okay,
thank you.
okay.
Yep.
Hey,
All right.
Kevin, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, I can,
All
Howard.
right, Howard, quick. I come in a little late. I'm curious about survivor benefit and the percentage you lose under your wife being younger than you and stuff, and how that's working.
Yeah, so well, basically, it is an actual calculation, which I'm not prepared to do on the Zoom call. I'm not even, but I can give you the rough estimate. Generally, if you want to take the 50% reduction, it's usually about 10% less off your pension, off your full pension. And there are further reductions based on your wife's age. So if your wife is significantly younger than you, or even any younger, it's a formula by how many months she's younger than you. There is a further reduction because she's expected to live longer than you. So it's variable, but that has not changed.
And does that change? It doesn't change as you get older, or like if I'm 65. I mean, she's 3 years younger than me, but I'm curious as to how that changes as you get older.
How many years younger is she than you?
3.
Oh, 3. I thought you said 30. And I said, oh, God bless you.
No. They'd have me in handcuffs.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's really an actual calculations. I could, if you wanted to give me a call offline or something, maybe I can give you a better idea. But I couldn't tell you if you call me today or tomorrow what it would be. But
will that be set up on the website?
Yeah, well, we can give you what those calculations would be, a ballpark,
Okay.
and we'll work on doing that. I made a note of that. If we can put some more of that information on there on the calculation of the benefit. It's in the plan document, so if you'll part enough for it, you can find it, and that's on the website. But we'll try and make some of these questions as they come up more upfront, so you can find them easier. So, but it is an actual calculation based on one reduction, and then it varies by the months that she's less than you. Okay.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else has a question?
All right, Dwayne Simmons again.
Hey, Dwayne.
All right. Now to go a different way. I'm assuming that you're going to go to YRC to ask, to give more contributions towards the pension.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
ASAP.
Correct.
I've
I've already requested that.
With the current situation with YRC Freight, right? YRC Freight is no longer in the Teamster, the Master Freight pension plan, correct?
No, they are. They're all part of our plan.
Okay, so now with the the current situation with them selling to another company, you know, you don't know what's going to happen with them, you know, once they're contracted up under the new company. But would that, say for instance, worst case scenario, you know, they don't want to sign a contract. And
Let me just ask you, but I'm confused. Who are you speaking about? YRC?
I think he means UPS.
I'm sorry, UPS Freight.
The UPS Freight is not part of our pension plan. That is a single employer standalone fund. It has nothing to do with us.
Okay, good. That's what I was wondering. If, say, hypothetically, if they were to go out of business, would it had affected our pension plan?
No, not at all. They're completely unrelated.
Okay.
No connection whatsoever. It would not change.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
See you again.
Okay. That was a trick question he's asking me. Yeah. Okay. Who else has a question? I hear somebody in the background.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, you hear me? Okay, we finally got it working. This
Okay.
is Dominic Sandrossi, his wife.
Oh, I know. Okay. How you doing?
Okay, how are you? Dom's here,
Okay.
but I have a question. I forgot what it was.
Come on.
I forgot what it was. He's got 31 years in.
Right.
31.
Yeah.
He'll be 65 in July.
Mm-hmm.
Will his pension full? We missed the whole beginning of the Zoom call.
Okay. So what is it? What is the question?
He'll be 65 in July. He's got 31 years in.
Okay.
Will he have a full pension?
Yeah. Where does Dominic work?
New Penn.
Yeah. Well,
In Mass.
yeah. So I don't want to go through the whole thing again. So we're gonna be doing like a pension calculator online so they can figure it out. It's easier. The years 2004 and before would be at 115, 13 times a year. The years from 2005 through about 2008, 2009 for YRC members will be about $90 a credit. Then after that, it goes down to anywhere between $20 and $25 a credit for each year after that. But we are working on some things that potentially could increase those years of service for YRC members. But that is not something that I can say is going to change with any definity. Okay.
We heard
we are working on putting up something on our website that will show how many years of service are credited on your behalf, and secondly, trying to work on a pension calculator, which would allow people to get an idea. But they can simply, you can simply call the, get a hold of. Get a hold of the pension fund, and we'd be able to be able to.
I want to play.
If someone's anticipating or trying to get pension out, the actuary would do those calculations for you. Okay.
I heard you.
BLT on wheat.
What was that? Is that Mark Babick? Mark, get me a BLT on wheat too. I haven't had breakfast yet.
With the cold beer.
Mark your phone. Mute your phone, Mark. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just ordered breakfast, but go ahead. This is Cangelosi.
Maureen's fine.
Maureen, I didn't know that, Maureen, or else I would have said that. So go ahead, Maureen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard you mention earlier that you needed the guys to still be driving. Is there they giving any incentive for them to stay?
Yeah, the incentive would be that we're going to negotiate higher increases in the pension fund, which would increase their accruals into the future, which would give them an incentive to want to stay.
But at 65 years old, I mean, is there anything from the last 20 years, 30 years for an incentive if they wanted to stay longer? It's not easy.
No, I understand. I understand. It wasn't an easy business when last time I drove a truck, but I'm not sure what.
So the incentive is only from now. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The incentive really is from new hirees.
No, it would be for anybody that's working there. If we increase the contributions, the accrual would go up right away. So there would be, potentially for earning more in the pension accrual, that would be the incentive for them to stay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Kev, if he has 30 years going forward, is he gonna get any credits for the years past that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you continue to accrue beyond 30 years. Absolutely.
I think that's what
I
she
sure
means,
hope so.
you
I have
know,
more than 30 years in.
No, that's what I think that's what she was trying to get at. If he stood, he was gonna accumulate.
Oh, yeah.
more benefits.
I didn't know that was the question. Yes, you would continue to accrue for each year regardless, so there's no cap on the amount of years that you can accrue. So,
All right, thank you.
okay.
And all this will be on the website when?
As I said, we're still trying to get, the first thing we're gonna have up there is where you check your credit, you know, how many years of service you have. And we're gonna work on getting a pension benefit calculator. Okay,
Right.
all right.
So and do you have no idea how long that is? I mean,
I-
this
I-
man is tired, you know, he wants to.
I know. He doesn't look it, but I know he is. But but I would say within 2 weeks, we'll have the pension benefit calculator. And Dominic can always, you know, you can always put in your, you know, your papers and leave the retirement date blank, you know, and we'll do a calculation what your benefit would be. Okay?
Okay, that's great.
Great.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you're welcome. Anyone else have any questions? I see some hands up. I'm not sure if they were answered.
Yeah, I got one.
You're good.
Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung, yeah, okay, yeah.
So say if I leave in September, right, and this kicks in November for
Right.
full pension, and from September to November, I get what it is now, like $1,000 a month. Now, would I get retro from November?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be fully reinstated back, yes.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Oh, I thought you were.
Okay, I don't hear anybody else. No more questions? All right, with that, I just want to thank everyone for being on. We're going to continue to update you. We had well over 100 people in the middle of the meeting. We're going to do another one just for retirees because their questions may be a little different and we didn't want to be overwhelmed. So I just want to thank everybody for coming and I really want to thank everybody for being patient. This has been a long journey and I never imagined that it would end up the way it did in terms of a full restoration of benefits. And you have my assurances that, especially for the YRC people, we are going to get those contributions increased. And I'm going to work to try and get them done retroactively in a manner, if we can feel that could benefit you in terms of those past accruals, we're going to continue to work to try and do that. Okay?
And thank you, Kevin, for all your hard
Hey,
work.
Kevin, man, thanks, bro.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you a lot, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody hanging in there, all right?
Thank
And
you,
we'll be in touch and we'll speak to you soon, okay?
You will.
Thanks, everybody.
Brother McCaffrey.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Hey, Kenny, get some sleep.
Thanks, I'm gonna try.
All right, where's my
t-shirts?
t-shirts?
Thank you, everybody.
All right, Kevin.
Bye
Later.
now.
We won't harass you more about the pension.
I'll write that down. I'm sure that'll.
See you tomorrow, Frankie.
Congratulations, everybody.
All right, Kevin, take it easy, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Take care,
All
everybody.
right.
I'll see you.
Have a good
Tuesday.
day.
All right, family.
Take it easy, Willie.
Take care,
All right,
everybody.
fam. All right, fam.
Oh, Ricky.